On the morning of July 22, 1954, a young boy in rural Maine set out down a quiet country road with a fishing pole in hand and a simple plan: to catch fish and enjoy the summer day. But by nightfall he had vanished, triggering one of the oldest and most baffling cold cases in Maine's criminal history, a mystery that law enforcement still lists as an unsolved homicide more than 7 decades later. This is the story of Daniel Kenneth Wood Jr., also known as Danny Wood, a 12-year-old boy whose disappearance and violent death became a symbol of both community shock and the limits of mid-20th century investigative work. Daniel K. Wood Jr. was born in October 1941, the son of local residents in South Gray, Maine, a small community in the central part of the state. Known to family and friends as Danny or Junior, he was the oldest of several siblings and described by relatives as a bright, lively boy with a keen interest in outdoor sports and summer activities. In the summer of 1954, Daniel was 12 years old, an age where walking to a friend's house or to a local pond to fish was not unusual. On the morning of July 22, 1954, Daniel left the Wood family home on Portland Road in Gray, Maine, carrying a fishing pole and lightly packed gear, intending to meet a friend who lived about a mile away, someone he had fished and played with many times before. His mother, Lillian Wood, was in the house looking after her younger son when she heard the back door close behind him. Moments later, she heard the distinct slam of a car door and the sound of an engine driving off, an odd occurrence in that quiet neighborhood, she later recalled. But her attention quickly returned to caring for her toddler, so she did not immediately think anything was amiss. Just 10 minutes after Daniel left, the phone rang. It was Daniel calling from a phone at Gray Center a few miles from the family home. On the line, he told his mother something surprising. "I've got a job with a magazine salesman. I'm going to get 50 cents an hour." Daniel explained that he had met a door-to-door salesman and was heading to Lewiston to make house calls. His mother, initially taken aback at the idea of such immediate employment, knew that Daniel couldn't have walked that far in 10 minutes, and that made her uneasy. Still, Daniel said, "I'll be back by dark," and hung up. That was the last confirmed contact his family ever had with him alive. When Daniel did not return home by evening, his family grew worried. They reported him missing, triggering local law enforcement involvement. In a pre-internet era with no cell phones and limited communication, the search procedures were laborious and physical, relying on volunteers, local police, and later, statewide efforts to find the boy. Authorities searched the actual path he was believed to have taken. The road he walked down from his home. Nearby woods and fields. Local ponds, streams, and lakes where a boy might have gone fishing. Businesses and homes in Gray Center and surrounding communities. Despite search parties covering miles of terrain in 3 counties, Cumberland, Oxford, and Androscoggin, no trace of Daniel was found in the days immediately after his disappearance. Within the first week of the search, police sifted through several reported sightings and tips from the public, some promising, others confusing. A schoolmate claimed she'd seen Daniel in a car on Poland Spring Road outside Gray, driven by an older man with a woman and 2 younger children. Daniel was said to have waved and called out, "Hi, Donna," before the vehicle drove off. Other reports indicated Daniel might have been in an ice cream parlor and later seen selling needles door-to-door in Lewiston, nearly 10 to 15 miles away from Gray. Some locals claimed they saw a boy matching his description in West Hartford, Connecticut, though those reports were never substantiated. Despite the flurry of activity, none of these leads led to Daniel's location, and in some cases, witnesses later recanted when police could confirm the child they saw was someone else. By the end of the first week, the search had expanded across state lines and large areas of local terrain, but the boy remained missing. More than 9 days after Daniel Wood Jr. vanished, his disappearance took a tragic turn. On Saturday, July 31, 1954, 2 anglers fishing near Auburn, Maine, more than 15 miles from Daniel's home, made a grim discovery. They spotted a nude body floating in the Little Androscoggin River. When they investigated, they quickly realized that it was that of a child later confirmed to be Daniel Kenny Wood Jr. through dental identification. Police responded and realized the boy had not died by accident or drowning in the river. He had been killed before entering the water. The body showed multiple serious head wounds, 7 separate injuries ranging from 1 to 4 inches deep, consistent with a violent beating. Police officials described the attack as brutal, noting the force of blows was severe enough to almost dislodge an eye from its socket. Additionally, Daniel's hands had been tied together before the beating, a detail suggesting he may have been restrained by his attacker. Authorities also found a pair of argyle socks on the riverbank the next day, believed to be ones Daniel wore on the day he disappeared, but most of his clothing was missing, a mystery in itself. Once Daniel's body was recovered and examined, law enforcement classified the case as homicide. At a time when forensic science was limited and crime scene preservation was primitive by today's standards, investigators interviewed hundreds of people, neighbors, travelers, salesmen, and anyone who might have crossed paths with the boy. Police Chief Alton Savage publicly described the crime scene and autopsy findings, admitting that the murder could have occurred far from where the body was found, since the river could have carried the remains from upstream counties, including Oxford or Cumberland. Early investigation also included checking known suspects in other cases, including Herman Barmore, also known as Charles Fisher, a man later convicted of unrelated killings, though investigators ultimately could not link him to Daniel's murder. Despite widespread questioning and follow-ups, no arrest was ever made and related suspects were never charged in connection to Daniel's killing. Over the decades, several theories have emerged, none definitive, none proved. 1. A meeting with a salesman. Daniel's phone call to his mother claiming he was going to work with a door-to-door salesman has been one of the most enduring threads of the case. It suggested he may have met an adult male willing to give him a ride, raising suspicion that he never went fishing at all. Whether that salesman was real, and if he exists in records or witness statements, has never been confirmed. 2. Potential witness sightings. Conflicting sightings such as the reported wave to a schoolmate in a car added confusion. Some witnesses may have been accurate, others mistaken, which muddled early investigation. 3. Abduction or luring. Given the restraints on his hands and the severity of his beating, some have speculated that Daniel was abducted, possibly by someone he trusted or someone who seemed harmless at first, though no concrete evidence exists to support that claim. 4. Crime scene uncertainty. Police have acknowledged that the location where the body was found is likely not where the murder occurred, meaning the actual scene is unknown. River currents may have carried the body rather than it being dumped at that exact spot. For the town of Gray and the wider Maine community, Daniel Wood Jr.'s murder was both shocking and unresolved, an event that shook small-town sensibilities and made national headlines in 1954. Authorities maintained a large search force in the first 10 days, including inspectors, volunteer searchers, and county investigators spreading hundreds of miles, with no resolution. Maine State Police today still list this case among their unsolved homicides and encourage anyone with information even decades later to come forward. As recently as 2025, local reporting remarked that the case remains the oldest cold case on Maine's unsolved homicide list, a testament to how deeply entrenched the mystery has become. The medical examination after Daniel's body was recovered revealed the following. 1. 7 head wounds from blunt force trauma indicating a violent beating. 2. No water in his lungs, proving he was dead before entering the river, and drowning was not the cause of death. 3. Evidence that the killer attempted to cover up the crime by disposing of the body in a river, far from Gray. Despite modern technique improvements, crucial evidence from the original crime scene was limited, and what remains has not produced a breakthrough in the decades since. Daniel's parents and siblings mourn deeply. His father would have to identify his son's body, a traumatic experience that left emotional scars on the family that survived him. His mother endeavored to keep her son's memory alive and hoped that one day answers might surface. Many of his immediate family members have since passed, but the memory of the 12-year-old remains in local lore and historical records as a case that ought to have been solved yet never was. More than 7 decades after Daniel Wood Jr.'s disappearance and murder, the case remains a chilling reminder of how many questions can linger when a young life is violently taken and justice goes unserved. It is a story that transcends a single date in 1954. It's about memory, enduring mystery, and the hope that someday someone, somewhere, will provide the clue that finally brings closure. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to read them. Subscribe and share the link to your friends. Thanks once again, and hopefully I will see you on the next one.